This is Gerald Johan van Waas, an educational channel of demonstrations regarding the letter significations and meanings, and they are based upon a system which is almost exactly the same as our way how we perceive reality, how we perceive elements of reality, and how we give it an order. It's based on letters that together form language, but the language and the logic behind the language is also already embedded in the letters. It follows a system, and this system I tried to explain in several videos, and in the last video I explained in a way all the letters that are involved with time and with timing. I will tell you more about that some other time in some other video soon, but what I would like to pick out is one of the letters and explain it a little bit better. So the concepts of letters are also concepts of thought, let's say, of adaptation. So we visualize a certain point that we can use and that we can deal with. And it can be very handy to know how we can deal with unknown aspects or unpredictable elements and so on. So it gives us a way to handle this kind of general logic in general as well. So it is a helpful tool to be busy with language and letter significations as well. And I will pick out now, before going to the next level in the next video, I will pick out this letter of G, and I will kind of calculate its position and then can predict how it will react in space, in time, and in focus. So I will tell you what I mean. There is a scheme on which all our sensitive behaviors, or all our sensitive picking out of elements is working, and all the letters are about a specific variation of our focus. Our focus in general is slightly like an organ, let's say, an organ of balance, and we try to find balance in between the localization of elements, in between the signals that tells us that something is changing and then we need to adapt to it, or it will also be very suggestive to our mind, our thinking, when it really needs a change of focus. So there are three regions in which one of these aspects are dominating. But all these three aspects of dealing with the focusing itself are always there. And the three aspects, the three ways of how we perceive things in the world are either about stable points, the starting points. We start to find the points of reference. These are the localization of the objects in the three-dimensional space. So in this form we have three positions possible. So the positions centered a bit away from that or at the edges, and also three elements maximum that we can have as variations in these positions. This is the first region. The second region is all the changes, so we more focus the direction of the changes. That's also the direction of what changes, the growth processes. We try to find out where the things are going, and in communication we use these things all the time. Or we have to reorientate ourselves because context demands that maybe our focus here is not sufficient, so we have to move our focus away and adapt it accordingly. So these are the three sorts of focuses that you can use, and every letter is also a combination or a level or a degree of one of these focuses. And of course, one of these focuses will dominate. If it's in the middle section there, what will dominate? The time aspect and the growth aspect, the changes will dominate. If it's in the first region, the placement of the things, or the way how it looks like, where it is mostly, will dominate. That doesn't mean that the things are not changing there, or that we don't have to orient themselves, but they are quite stable. So the points where we need to focus mostly upon can be found by checking where the letters are in the system. And now I talked about the letter G. So where is the letter G in the system? It's there. It's in the focus point of where we may see changes. Okay, let's analyze its place, because based upon its place, the balance, what it is there at that place, we will be able to understand what the letter is used for and what kind of focus is used for this letter. So here we have it. So we take out the system itself, this part of the section, and we will start to analyze it. So it is all about moves and changes in time that will be dominating. When will these things be dominating is when, for instance, somewhere in a space, at a place, things are moving away, are moving sideways, and also then we have to find, okay, where is it going? So that aspect will become dominating. Then, where is it also? It's you can see it's at the third section. So the third section is about the limits of what we can perceive, the limits of or the edges and so on, but it's still at the center point. We're centralizing our focus, and the movement of our perspective will be horizontal. That's already something that we know. And it will use 3 centers of focus. That are technical things that we can use to build up our understanding of the G. So what will we have then? We will have this combination of also the three kinds of focuses. We have 3 elements, so that will be dominating. We have a horizontal move. The moves will be dominating. The move where it will go to will be dominating. And we have a central focus. Central focus will also not be dominating, but that will be our focus. So let's split these 3 visions, how they are built up together. Let's split them up. So we have these, and these 3, it's again these 3 kinds of focuses. We can either focus on the objects, on the localization, or we can focus upon the changes, or we can focus on our focus. Simply as that. So all 3 elements are always there, and it's that kind of balance between these things that are there. Or it's 1, 2, 3. So it's the 1, 2, or 3 differences. Here in space there will be 3 differences. So it will be used differently, and I will tell you later how it will be used, why there are 3 differences. Most dominating will be the green part, of course. The element of focus here is time, so timing, there will be move or change over time. No other way, that will be the dominating aspect. But it's at the 3rd section, so there will be an extra attention to the 3rd section as well. And the 3rd section is also the 3rd way of thinking. You pay a little bit extra attention to, in this case, it is our central focus. So we try to keep our central focus intact despite things are changing over time. That's already an aspect that you can derive from it, and it's very important to understand and to remember and to recognize it as well. So let's take the 3 centers. So the first time when we had 3 centers was, of course, in the spatial area with spaces. So we will compare it to that position, and then add the element of time so that we can understand what changes if time is added. So on this lower level, with what is the centralized position of 3 points of difference, that's the letter C. You can find that in the scheme. It's there at the C. And it looks like this. You have the 3-dimensional vision with 3 centers. Why do you have 3 centers? I explained that in one of these videos. It's because you know that some things will work and some other things will not work. And we could focus on one of both things, but we can also focus on trying on the balance that is happening between it, for that some things work slightly, a little bit, work better, don't work. All these variations are focused into one area of these variations. That's the C. It's the compromising, giving attention to all what works and does not work, and in totality still is usable as a center focus. That's the C. We go to the next level on the scheme, and the next level on the scheme adds the time element, and the time element is in a horizontal plane. In some other video I will explain what will be the difference between a horizontal, vertical and diagonal reference point in time. They're all different, they're different aspects. Here it's on a horizontal plane, so it's a simple move of position in time. And then it will look of course like this. So we have the 3 points that we have, the 3 focuses, and they move away in time. And because of it, it moves. If you just paint them yourself, just to look, the positions within our focus are also changing. The positions are changing, actually switching also a little bit. So that your attention of what is in the center or is not in the center switches all the time. So that's your adaptation process. That's what is needed. We need to switch the positions because they're not always at the same position. And I will show you a little bit better. Here in the center you can see that was our foundation of the C. We had a middle point of compromise, which was a balance between what works, the green part, which has elements that can be used, or the red, which is the red zone at the edges, at the limits, which were better not to be used because they were already unpredictable. So there's an unpredictable and a predictable part, and we compromise, and that was the C. If we move our focus, what is in the middle and what is in the middle focus, so that we can use to focus upon, to use it as a middle point for this balance, it's one of the other elements. And the green element now is at the border, so it is now a border element. The blue element is now somewhere in the volume, so it's at the volume part, so it's about the material. What was before the red part, which was to avoid, now can be used as a centralized focus. So our focus point of what we can use and how we can use it changes over time, and that is something very relevant to the G. So here you had, of course, we used the middle part in beginning. That was our compromising part, and then when the time moves, suddenly we had to use another element, so we used another element. So after a while we could use also the material which was to be avoided at the first time because we couldn't handle it very well, and now suddenly we can handle it very well because it's in our center focus, so we can see it very well. So in a way the G is has a lot of coordination going on into our role of focus, and these switches, they can be explained or expressed as a jump of our attention, of adaptation. So we jump towards, or in between, even in between the elements. It's even better to say that. so that we can use all the elements in its degree. So sometimes they're at the edges, so we hardly can use it. Sometimes they're at the center, so we can use them in our center point of attention. Sometimes they are in between, so we can use them as material that we develop and that we grow with and so on. But it's changing all the time, so what will we do? We give all attention to the balance and the balancing out, and we simply use all the elements in all of its degrees. And the G in my book I described also as the going around the things with as little as confrontation as possible, so that we simply can also include all associations in between. All the material can be used in all of its degree, and that's what is actually the expression, the content of the G, where the G will be used. Funny enough, of course, in English you know that the letters and sounds are not always compatible. They are sometimes used. The G here is used as J. It's a different sound, and the Y, which is at a different place, is also expressed as a Y. In another language, is this like a I, or you can have other language like I think there will be other differences as well. So where is this position then? If you compare it to the G, it's at the last, it's focus. So there are three different focuses in changes. The third focus is when the things are getting out of focus. On everything what changes over time, it's getting out of focus. We no longer see where it's going to. Adapted to the G from before, of course, we still know with the Y, we are losing its focus on its destiny, but it still remains within reach. We can focus upon it and we will keep on reaching it. It's not very different from the G, so even the things that are going away, the red flag area, the red area is at some point it will be within reach, and so that's comparable from the G and the Y. It's comparable in that way. Our focus can be kept even if it's at the edge of our focus. We can keep this focus and we know we will find the elements that we need. We will find the answers that we need. So the Y as Y will get our answers simply because of asking the question well enough and formulating the question well. We will get there because we find its direction. If we have the right direction in it, we will have it. So it's also a kind of balance in that way. And that's how these letters can be combined as well. They are mindsets. Even each of these letters are in fact kind of mindsets, and once you know how these mindsets work, that's one of the options that you can have. They have a way to form themselves. They also have a way to direct themselves. They have also a way where the elements are, and you also have a mindset of behaviorism where we need to adapt to. This also, again, these three aspects are always there. I hope this was clear enough, and it gave you already some idea why the G, how the G worked and how you can associate it and how it is being used. How it is being used then in words and so on, okay, that's again a different chapter, but you will be able to use these reference points in space, reference with its own consequences in the time schedule, and with its own reference point in how we have to adapt towards it. These three aspects are the full dimensional scope of our language, the full dimensional scope of where all the letters can be going, and in that way they can be calculated with all these three aspects at the same time. It's quite complicated if you see or watch this video for the first time and didn't hear any of the other ones. It is a new complicated way of thinking, but once you can recognize the positions, the directions, and then how we have to adapt to all of this, it starts to make sense that how letters can combine. You have to adapt all these things gradually, and then it will go all automatically, and these calculations or estimations will be done also more automatically as they go. Anyhow, thanks for watching. This was Gerald Toren van Was. There's a website too, and please subscribe to the channel if you want to keep yourself informed or updated or instructed if you like. Thanks again. Bye bye.